what God ended up showing me or bringing to my attention, revealing to me after I made that video was that sometimes we have those thoughts because of the generational curses and strongholds we are meant to overcome. Our ancestors, those before us, they had certain parts of the generational curse to break, perhaps even the same purpose as you, but for whatever reason was never able to fully step into it. Enters you, right? The strongest warrior, right? Even though we are tired of God making us the strong warrior, we want to be the peaceful warrior, the relaxed warrior, the living in flow state warrior, right? And get out of all these different struggles that we experience in life. But even more interesting was the analogy or example that God showed me in correlation to this, which actually came from the last episode of the Welcome to Dairy series. So if you watch that series, then you remember how at the end of that last episode, Margaret, Margot, I can't remember, girl with the eye patch, right? Pennywise showed her a wanted poster of her son. Mind you, she's a child. There's no way she's having a son right now, right? But her son was one of the kids in the It movies. Pepper, be quiet. Was one of the kids in the It movies that helped defeat Pennywise. And so God showed me, basically, I was like, that's the same thing. So view those thoughts, those evil thoughts, whether it is led to depression, anxiety, psychosis, anything in that mental illness range, view those things as Pennywise. Even your outside obstacles, view those as Pennywise, that negative entity, the devil, whatever label makes you feel the most comfortable. I'll say that. Because we know that those kind of evil forces don't want us to step into and carry out our divine purpose. It feeds on fear. It's kind of like that old analogy of which beast or which wolf are you feeding? Same concept. We don't want to feed that entity. The only way to stop that entity from flourishing is to choose ourselves, meaning choosing to live in a state of courage, steadfastness, willpower, versus thinking, why me, which keeps you in an energy of fear, lack, turmoil, all things that lead up to those different mental illnesses and anguish that some of us experience, right? So it's almost as if we have to survive these things in order to be, okay, let me back up. It's almost as if we have to survive these things in order to shriek, minimize, and ultimately vanquish the arrogance of said evil forces. Does that make sense? Because once we can do that, then the next time we are faced with a challenge or a roadblock or an obstacle, we feel more confident in overcoming it, because what's worse than mental anguish to the point where, again, you try to remove yourself. And that's what Pennywise, these evil forces, that's the energy it wants us to operate in. Because imagine if a human collective, us as humanity, if we all learn to shrink Pennywise, make it feel small, make it feel like it has no authority on our lives or our divine purpose, and we do that as humanity, imagine the kind of world we could live in and would live in. And you know that those kind of forces, that is the very last thing that it wants to happen. So instead of, again, and I can't even remember now if I said this already, so forgive me if I have, instead of choosing to live in fear, choosing to live in a God, why me mindset, do your best to reframe your mental perspective on God, I choose me. Choosing yourself empowers you. Choosing yourself builds your self-esteem. Choosing yourself builds your confidence. Choosing yourself makes you a living, walking example for others to do the same. Hopefully this message resonates with someone